Welcome to all. We know that developing a curriculum according to the needs of society, it takes a lot of time. But how can we include community in the development of a curriculum? Today, we are going to discuss about community participation in curriculum development and transaction. We have with us Dr. Neel Kamal Sharan, who is working as assistant professor in School of Education, and myself, Dr. Elizabeth Kuruvilla. So when we think about this community participation, there are two terms coming that where it includes community and participation. And in today's discussion, we are going to cover about that you will be able to define the term community, to identify the various types of communities, and to develop understanding about the resource mapping of the community for the development of curriculum. So when we look at the term community, how we can define the term community? Normally, we will tell that it's a group of people who is sharing a common interest. And when we take some of the famous definition regarding the community, we can state that definition of Cole and Knowles, where he stated that clusters of individual lives make up communities, societies, and cultures. To understand some of the complexities, complications, and confusions within the life of just one member of a community is to gain insights into the collective. So, here we can see that it includes different aspects. So, instead of getting the importance of one member, we are taking the different aspects of a particular community. Then how this community participation leads to the curriculum development? When we think of that, we can state that curriculum development refers to the process of assessing needs, identifying learning outcomes, planning instructional alternatives, and using the cultural, social, and personal interests that the curriculum is to serve. And we know that when we want to include the community in the process of curriculum development, we can state that the community participation, how it becomes important. That when we think of this community participation, what we can state that it is a kind of process by which people are enabled to become actively and genuinely involved in defining the issues of concern to them, in making decisions about factors that affect their lives, in formulating and implementing policies, in planning, developing, and delivering services, and in taking action to achieve change. So, this definition was put forward by World Health Organization. Hence, we have seen some of the terms about like community participation, curriculum development. But when we look at the derivation of the term community, in Greek language, community means the fellowship or a group of people who come together for mutual support and to fulfill their basic needs. So every community has got different types of needs, and to fulfilling that needs is very much important. So we can say that there are different definitions of community, and we can say in a nutshell that community is a group of people who have some interest in common. So here, when we look at this community, we can see that there may be two differing views about communities also. The one view stated that the community is natural and key to human welfare, whereas the other view stated that it is non-democratic and it discourages individual growth and freedom. In that way, there may be differing views, but anyway, when you think of community, in terms of the some phrases like the community participation, capacity, community building. So these all things denotes the positive aspects of community. Okay, so now I have explained about what do we mean by a community. And Dr. Neelkamal, when we think of this community, there occurs that we can see that there are different types of communities. Could you please explain about the different types of communities?
Yes, broadly speaking, there are four types of community. First one is geographic community, second one is communities of interest, third is communities of identity, and fourth is intentional community. We will discuss one by one, but let me first tell you that these four types of community, these are not mutually exclusive. Means what does it means? It means that when one type of community occurs, it doesn't mean that the another type will not occur. So these can occur simultaneously. Like for example, if a person is a member of geographic community, then at the same time he or she can be a member of communities of identity or communities of interest, or he or she can be a member of intentional community.
So you have included the diagram of this mutually exclusive and non mutually exclusive.
Yes.
Okay, you have correctly stated about that. And what about the other types of communities?
Okay, so first one is geographic communities. As the name itself suggests, it is based on area. That means the group of people who are living in a particular area, and there is a physical boundaries. It is not necessary that the physical boundary, but certain geographical demarcation must be there in geographic community. Like for example, we start from our house, we stay in our house, and we have neighbors also. Like there are bunches of houses, we are surrounded by bunches of houses, and these houses, they grows and cover entire city, so they become a city. So the members of this particular city or town or village, they are the members of the geographic communities. Now there are certain features of this geographical community, like the first feature is there are common ties among the members based on cultures, the shared beliefs and shared attitudes, and social interaction among the members is also there. Members of this geographical community, they interact with each other, they support each other, and there is interdependence among the members also. The members of this community, they depend on each other. We have talked about a term called neighborhood. Now let us understand what is this neighborhood. It is the set of people who live in a same geographic area and have similar kind of economic background. Like for example, when you or your parents, when they search for a house, they go and search for a house, and they search the locality, which type of people are staying there, what are their educational backgrounds, because they want to take houses in such a place where they can relate, or the people who are staying there, they are having similar kind of educational background and similar economic background, so they took their houses there. So this is neighborhood.
Okay,
And
Dr. Neelkamal, you have rightly stated that when we go for searching for houses, that we may inquire about the neighbors. So we can see that in newspaper and media how this neighborhood is impacting a lot in the lives of individuals. Okay. What about the other types of community?
Next type of community is communities of interest. Like for example, it is based on our particular interest. Suppose I am a teacher and I am interested in teaching. The moment I saw another teacher, I feel we have a common identity of teaching someone, so I can relate with another teacher.
We can see that in community, we have seen different types of revolts or strikes or something. There also we can see the community of interest, the solidarity among the members, how they are coming together. So we can see that this community And another one, there is the community
Community
of
of
identity. Could you
ident-
please explain about communities of identity?
Okay, this type of community implies that there are some common identifiable characteristics or attributes such as common culture, or by culture we mean language, music, religions, and custom. So, like for example, whenever we meet, suppose I am a person who speaks Tamil, and I met a person who is also a Tamilian, so I can relate with that person. So this is
Yes.
community of
Identity.
interest.
Okay.
One more type of community is intentional community. As the name itself suggests, it is based on certain intentions. Like for example, someone is interested in women right, or someone who wants to do something for women, then he or she can join a community who works for women right. And it is not necessary that the person who is a member of intentional community, he or she is a member of geographical communities. Like for example, I am staying in India, and I wants
Yes.
to do something for women, so I can join a group who works for women right. And if a person who is sitting in America, and he or she also wants to do something for women, then he or she can also join women right group. So it is not necessary that there is geographical boundaries, that the person they should be or remain in the same particular geographical area. So the people from global level as well as local level can join this type of community.
So this type of community has got more meaning with the development of ICT. We can see that we can connect with any part, with any group of people and in any country. So truly you have spoken like that. And next one, I would like to ask you that how to work effectively in a community, how we can work.
Uh, First of all, we can see that there are in a class also, see the students who
Yes.
are studying in a particular class also, there are so many individual differences. So how can we expect that the members of a particular community, they will be equal, though there are certain common characteristics, but then also certain differences are there. So what we should do is, we should first think in ourselves or among the group, and we should pose certain questions in the group, like what are the reasons for initiating the particular program, and how much funding is there, who is funding, and what is expected of us, what is
Yes.
expected to you, and what is your responsibilities, who are there who will support and who will not support. Like this, we should ask or we should think over certain questions. Another thing is, we should ask certain questions to ourselves also, that what do I expect of myself, what are my hopes, and what are my reasons of taking up this job, what are my fears. Like this, we have to pose certain questions to ourselves also. And few more factors are there, and with which we can make our community work effectively. Is first one is, we should set certain achievable and measurable goals. We can measure the outcomes of the goal, so we should set certain achievable and measurable goals. Second one is, we should plan properly. We should not plan like this, which will take a lot of time, or which is there is a lot of possibility of failing of the program. And third one is, we should communicate effectively among the members of the group. And fourth one is, we should work cooperatively. We should give time. This is important point, that if you want to make our community an effective community, we should give time. Next is, sharing of knowledge should be there. We should respect the individuality, that every member is different and they have different skills. We should listen to them, and we should encourage feedback and participation.
So, we have discussed what are the different types of communities, how to work effectively in a community. And Dr. Neelkamal had stated rightly that what are the things that not only looking at the community, sometimes we have to assess ourselves and we have to find out what are our hopes, what are our fears. So such types of things are important. And next in our discussion, we are going to deal with the community needs assessment and community assets and resources mapping. So this is an important aspect in any community if you want to develop the curriculum. So among these, the first one, that is creating community space, and the second one, understanding diversity, third one, tracking power structure in a community, fourth, overcoming internationalized oppression, a barrier to participation, and the last one, participation and dialogue. So dealing with the first aspect, that is creating community space, we can see that the space is needed for what means that we have the accessibility, the suitability and appropriateness of space. Suppose we want to discuss about the needs of the community, an appropriate space is always necessary. So the community analysis will be of great value as it will help anybody to identify the spaces that are most inclusive, where most participants can come together without any fear or hesitation like that. And when we think of this space, there occurs one thing, that the issue of safety. When we think of this safety, we have to think of two types of safety is necessary, that is physical safety and psychological safety. So a place where the approachability is very difficult, nobody will come to that particular place. So the physical proximity should be there for assembling together. As far as this physical safety, there is another safety, that is the psychological safety, where the group should be sharing the common ideas, where one can share their ideas freely. So this type of things is important, and in such cases what is important is that an inclusive community space is very much important. And in the inclusive community space, there occurs two things, that is the beauty and the order. By beauty, it means the physical space is aesthetically pleasing. Otherwise, people will not be attracted to come to that place. And the order, regarding the order, what we can see is that the space is kept in tight and clean. Unhealthy surroundings, people may not be liking to come together. And regarding the second aspect, that is understanding diversity, we know that community members belong to various background, like there may be diversities based on race, caste, religion, language and everything. So in order to create an inclusive community, we have to understand the background of each community. Could you say something about tracking power structure in a community?
Yeah, earlier also I said that in a community there are different types of member. There is a lot of inequality in among the members of the group, and there are three indicators of power. First one is wealth, second one is gender, and third one is
the
land.
caste, that is also an important.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there are members who have a lot of land is there. Some are more privileged, some are less privileged. So like this, there are certain power structures among the community. So we have to identify the power structure. Now there is one term called oppression. Oppression means the misuse of power. If a member is more privileged, like for example the landlords or the people who have a lot of land in villages, you must have saw in villages there are some people who have a lot of land, and what they do, they dominate the poor people who stays in the village. So we have to identify these type of unequal distributions, because in that case oppression may occur, which is the misuse of power.
What about your view about overcoming the international oppression? Okay. Could you say something about that?
There is one term called internalized oppression. Let us understand this term with the help of one example. Suppose you are studying in a school, and you are studying in class 10 and or in class 8, and suppose you are scared of your math teacher because whenever you ask questions, he started shouting on you, or he beat you. So you develop a fear for mathematics teacher. When he goes and get transferred into another place, and some new teacher comes to your school, new math teacher comes to your school, you develop the same kind of feeling. Even if he or she is a good teacher, you develop fear for mathematics teacher. This is internalized operation, because when you develop such kind of feeling in yourself. So in psychology we say that it is the psychological effect on the oppressed by the oppressor. Okay,
Yes.
so internalized operation is that. In the words of Michael Rich, he pointed out that what has to be explained is not the fact the man who is hungry steals, or the fact that who is exploited strikes, but why the majority of those who are hungry don't steal, and why majority of those who are exploited do not strike. Why we accept those things? Why don't we strike? Because we don't we are exploited. So why don't we strike? If we are hungry, why don't we steal? So he said that we should do like this, and why we are not doing this is a matter of thinking.
Yes, you have correctly stated. And the last one, that is participation and dialogue. So there occurs some participation and dialogue. When we think of Jack Gibbs, he stated that the participation of the learners group, it is based on three things, that is acceptance, and the next one, that is sharing concerns, setting goals, and organizing action. So this is also important, that we can see that when we look at Paulo Freire, he stated about the how the oppressed can come out of that oppressed state. So a dialogue community should be there, and a community should be where all the members should participate in the development of the curriculum. Hope that you might have understood how the community participation is involved in the curriculum development and transaction. Thank you.